When I dose this, which, by the way, I actually have a nicotine patch on as we speak. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ryan, and this is the Thunder Channel on nootropics, on testosterone, and on male performance. Consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here. Want to mention, got about 50 bottles left of the Torque Nootropic stack, which can be very relevant to you people in this video at 30% off. Coupon code is 30TORQUE, so like our loss is your gain. Go get it on discount right now. Link is in the description of this video. All right, friends, so let's get into if nicotine patches are comparable to Adderall and or other strong stimulants in terms of nootropic benefits and good brain function. And the short answer to that question is yes, they're comparable. All right, so what I'm about to try to convince you of is that for a good degree of people, nicotine patches, and nicotine patches only, by the way, like not lozenges or gum, if dosed correctly, are going to provide a very substantial, powerful, stimulating nootropic effect for a good degree of people. That is, again, yes, comparable to some hardcore dopamine stimulants like Adderall. Now, I'm going to get to some protocols here in a bit to get that sort of like Bradley Cooper, like Limitless, like totally turned on feeling from nicotine patches. First, I want to explain a couple important things. First of all, I've been using nicotine for many years on and off, and I've chewed nicotine gum and some lozenges largely, but that's a 2 to 4 milligram dose. So though it gave me nootropic effects, it wasn't anything to kind of write home about, but it did affect me positively, right? And that's because nicotine has actually a higher affinity for the nicotinic acetylcholine receptors than, most other cholinergic agonists, including acetylcholine itself. Binding to these receptors, specifically the A4 and the B2 subunits, these are nicotinic acetylcholine receptors with an agonist like nicotine, activates cholinergic pathways, and there you get cholinergic brain function, focus, memory, energy, stimulation, and general computing power. But also one really interesting thing that, was comparable, makes this comparable to Adderall and is really awesome for nootropics users that I don't think a lot of people talk about because it's predominantly a cholinergic, that it actually increases midbrain dopamine firing rates and phasic burst firing of dopamine, which is pretty fucking awesome. Anyway, so that's the nootropic side, kind of like the neurochemical side of how nicotine works in this nootropic capacity. But it wasn't until, I want to say like 6 or 7 months ago, that I saw this video from an entrepreneur that I follow called Alex Hormozi, where he was doing a video with Derek from MPMD, where they discussed this, and Alex had this to say.
I chew Nicorette when I feel like it. I've done nicotine patches, which I actually really like a lot, like you're gonna quit smoking patches. Those honestly feel like Adderall. Highly recommend. Like love those.
I don't think a lot of people realize how neuroprotective and actual cognitive enhancing nicotine can be if you're not an addictive personality. Like if you're not going to get hooked on it brutally to the point where you abuse it. Like people who, as ridiculous as it sounds, people get less Alzheimer's occurrence when they smoke.
Oh yeah. Yeah. For most angiogenesis.
Yeah.
And I have a ton of Alzheimer's in my family. Oh. And so that's why I've been like, promotes short-term memory, decreases appetite, increases energy, has a 30-minute half-life, like prevents Alzheimer's. I'm like, I'm in. You know what I mean? Like, sign me up.
Sign me up. So look, I wanted to explore this a little further and see if nicotine patches really were like Adderall for me, or if they were profoundly stimulating, and this is what I found. 5 months back, I did a video on this channel, and what I've come to find is like, if there's any stack that's comparable to like the NZT Limitless stack in the movie Limitless, it's this following stack. So I combined the Torque Nootropic stack, it's 2 capsules of Torque, with 1 shot of espresso, and a 7 milligram nicotine patch. And I was blown away at how functional my brain was. Like, I was so impressed with it, I made a video about it, explaining the protocol and how effective it was. Check this out. And that stack is wickedly powerful. I mean, like if you want 7 hours, 8 hours of brain energy, turning on the functional part of your brain, giving you motivation, just like making you feel like a ludicrous amount of brain energy, then 2 capsules of torque, 1 shot of espresso, 7 milligram nicotine patch. I wanted to explore whether or not nicotine patches in 7 to 14 milligram quantities, like, put on my skin and like over the course of many hours would be comparable to like an Adderall-like effect or otherwise stimulant nootropic, like something like phenylpiracetam. So I started administering a 7 milligram patch of nicotine right before work, like after the gym and after coffee, just to sort of see how it affected my brain. And this is what I found. I found that it was profoundly noticeable at giving me a lot of brain energy, but also a variety of other kind of improvements in cognitive function, like the ability to compute information. My brain was compartmentalized a lot easier. Like it was harder to distract me. I could focus easier and for longer periods of time. When I dosed this, which by the way, I actually have a nicotine patch on as we speak, I get distracted less. I knock things off my to-do list a lot faster. I get that kind of typical nootropic feeling, like if I dose something like PRL 853 or the racetams, where like not only am I stimulated, but I know that my brain is actually working better. With one nicotine patch, like over many, many hours, you're getting sort of a steady supply, but a constant like supply of nicotine going through the blood, ending up in the brain, binding to the nicotinic cholinergic receptors and activating good brain function. It's got this like nice prolonged effect, which yes, is comparable to Adderall, right? It kind of puts you in that like dominant sort of sympathetic place. But the interesting thing about it is it doesn't seem to have the side effects that something like Adderall would have. Okay, so with that in mind, yes, very comparable to Adderall. I'm going to give you a couple protocols that are my favorites to take with nicotine patches. Number 1, 7 milligrams of a nicotine patch by itself. All right, leave it on for 4 to 6 hours and get to work. You're going to notice substantially better brain performance. Again, energy and stimulation. You'll probably be a lot more compartmentalized. Like things will flow and function a lot better in your brain. Like any degree of brain fog that you may have is probably going to be alleviated or gone with a nicotine patch in the mix. Number 2, again, the NCT stack, which is 7 milligrams nicotine in a patch, 2 capsules of torque, and 1 shot of espresso. Be prepared, my friends. Okay, some people this is gonna be way overstimulating, but for a lot of people, it's gonna like hit home and give you ludicrous amounts of energy. Number 3, a lot of people executed that strategy. So when I talked about this many months ago, people went out and did it. But like 20% of those people in the reporting that came through were like, "Hey, it was really awesome, but like then I got overstimulated, or I started feeling like a little like lightheaded or nauseous or something." Like, because it can come with side effects if you're stimulating yourself that much. In that case, one of the best protocols with nicotine in it and torque would be 7 milligram nicotine patch, 2 capsules of torque, 1 shot of espresso, and then 150 milligrams of L-theanine, because you're pumping up a little bit of that GABAergic neurotransmission, which is going to execute some degree of inhibition on that extra brain firing to keep things balanced. So look, if you were just going to take nicotine by itself and you took 7 milligrams, and you're like, okay, I feel pretty good, but like, is there another level? Can I take a 14 milligram nicotine patch? The answer is yeah. I mean, and for some people, it's going to make them feel like a fucking total animal in terms of productivity and brain function. And for others, because of the excessive dopamine firing as well as the stimulation, it just may be too much for you. Also want to say that like some people are going to metabolize nicotine patches differently, and particularly people that weigh more than 200 pounds. Like a 200-pound dude, like, I kind of go back to the Vigorous Steve example where he requires a little more choline than most people perhaps, but still gets side effects at higher doses. I mean, I don't know, guy's probably 250, pushing 260. Big dude, right? So if you're a big guy, you're going to be metabolizing these things differently. So perhaps 14 milligrams of a nicotine patch is where you should start. And then others are going to be like super sensitive to nicotine patches, right? Where it's going to give them good brain function, but they may get overstimulated too quickly. In which case I would like cut the patch in half, put the patch on, see how you fare, and then have some like 2 to 4 milligram nicotine gum around just to like intermittently dose and kind of just like monitor where you're at. You may have to go through a dialing in process to find out what works for you. You end up in a place where it's just a half a nicotine 7 milligram patch, and then like you start chewing some 2 milligram nicotine gum, and then you're in. Stimulation, good brain performance, compartmentalization, better memory, better computing power for a lot of people, better focus and better verbal fluency. And with nicotine and like somewhat frequent use in the capacity of nicotine patches, you are going to upregulate acetylcholine receptors. That literally means you're going to end up making more nicotinic cholinergic receptors. Are they comparable to Adderall? Absolutely. As I said, I've been using them and wearing them a lot. I'm wearing one right now and I feel it right now. Like today just like feels like one of those days where I'm going to get a lot done and function like an animal. If you appreciated any second liking this content, please subscribe to the channel. Again, YouTube notified us that like we need more people to actually hit the bell to get notifications. I would really appreciate you guys doing that. Also like the video. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video and sort of throughout the video with Torque, yeah, Torque is 30% off. So if you haven't tried our Nootropic Stack Torque, I mean, it's like, especially combined with nicotine, it's very powerful. But the really cool part is by itself, it's also very powerful. You can get TorqueLiveCortex.com. We got 50 or so bottles left to sell at 30% off. So right now, our loss is your gain. I mean, you're getting it 30% off. Coupon code 30TORQUE. Go buy a bottle. Link in the description below. When you take that stuff and your brain turns on 25 minutes later, you will thank me, friend. If you need to hire me for nootropics consulting, coaching on formulating nootropic stacks that are targeted for you, TRT, advice on TRT, getting on TRT, dialing in your protocol, interpreting your blood work, fixing your energy issue, you can do all that stuff at livecortex.com. And recently we added targeted email response consults, where instead of getting on a call, you can email me your blood work or your situation and I'll respond with targeted protocols. All the links for everything I'm associated with are in the description of this video. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you guys. More content to come this week, and I will talk to you on the next one.